Hey, hi, hello everybody, hello, welcome back. My name is Katie. Today I'm going to be doing a winter book haul. Here is today's mug. I think you have actually seen this before. I've never introduced it, but it says "Go away, I'm reading." My mom gave this to me for Christmas a couple years back and I love it. I have 17 books that I have to show you today that I have acquired over the past couple of months, whether it's through Christmas gifts or just on my own. So I'm gonna jump right into it. The first book that I am going to be talking about, you've seen this already and I just finished it yesterday, and that is Get a Life, Chloe Brown by Talia Hibbert. This is an adult romance novel that follows Chloe Brown, who is living with fibromyalgia. She just moved out into her own apartment and she has thought up a list in order for her to get a life. So things she just wants to do throughout her life. It's kind of like a bucket list, pretty much. It includes things like ride on a motorcycle, go camping, and the biggest ticket item is travel the world with only hand luggage. Chloe ends up enlisting the help of her flat supervisor, Red, to help her check off some of these boxes on her list, and it's all around a very cute, fluffy romance. I really did enjoy it. You'll hear more about it in my February wrap-up. This is a part of a companion series that follows the three Brown sisters. So there's Chloe and Danny and Eve, and each one of them gets their own book. So I can't wait to explore this world more. Next up, I have to show you And Then There Were None by Agatha Christie. This is a classic mystery novel. I have been wanting to dip my toes into Agatha Christie for a while now, and it's just, she's written I think 60 something books, maybe 66 or 67, so that's definitely intimidating. So I did a little bit of research on YouTube and through blogs and stuff, and this seemed to be the consensus for like a standalone to start, so I ended up picking up a copy of this. I have not yet read it. This says 10 strangers are lured to an isolated island mansion off the Devon coast by a mysterious UN Owen. At dinner, a recorded message accuses each of them in turn of having a guilty secret, and by the end of the night, one of the guests is dead. Stranded by a violent storm and haunted by a nursery rhyme counting down one by one as one by one they begin to die. Which among them is the killer, and will any of them survive? So I think this is like one of the most classic whodunit mysteries that are around, so I definitely want to give it a go. Also, supposedly this is one of the Queen's favorite mysteries, which I think it's hilarious that that's marketed at all. I feel like everyone knows Agatha Christie. I got a handful of these at a flash sale at my local bookstore. They were doing like, I think it was like around Black Friday-ish time, but I ended up picking up Thick as Thieves by Megan Whalen Turner. This is the 5th book in the Queen's Thief series. I read the first one, titled The Thief, back last year and really enjoyed it. So I have the rest of the series. When I saw this for like $2, I figured I would pick it up because I am planning to continue with the series. So I think this is a continuation of that initial 4-book series, which is an older YA fantasy that I really enjoyed. It's like Greek and Roman inspired. The first one follows a thief who is in the king's jail and gets offered freedom for stealing an impossible to steal object. So we kind of follow his journey in that first book. I'm not quite sure what the expansion is, and obviously I'm not going to tell you the synopsis of this book because spoilers, but I do enjoy this series and I am planning to pick it up. They're nice and short and just fun fantasy novel kind of palate cleansers almost. So when I saw this, I had to get it. Here's another one you've already seen, but I haven't technically hauled it yet. This is on my February TBR, and that is When No One Is Watching by Alyssa Cole. This is an adult mystery thriller that takes place in Brooklyn and follows the gentrification of a neighborhood there. So Sydney, who has grown up in this neighborhood, is seeing these new people move in, and the neighbors she's known all her life get kicked out. So she ends up starting a walking tour of the neighborhood, and in this deep dive of the neighborhood's history, she finds out that people are moving to the neighborhood for more sinister reasons than initially thought. I am super excited about this. I've heard amazing things about it. Alyssa Cole is a very well-known, well-established adult romance writer. I haven't read any of her works, but I believe this is her first mystery thriller, so I am really excited to get to it. I am in the mood for a mystery thriller, so I'm hoping to get to it this month. All right, 2 more books I got at my local bookstore's book sale, and that is Like a River Glorious and Into the Bright Unknown by Rae Carson, the 2nd and 3rd book in the Gold Seer trilogy. The first book, Walk on Earth the Stranger, I read last year, and it was a total, like, took me by surprise favorite. I absolutely loved it. This series takes place during the high times of the gold rush, so people are moving out west to find their gold and get rich really quick. And the main character has this ability to sense out where gold is. So in the first book, she's running away from her uncle who finds out about her ability and wants to exploit it, and she is running west. So it's really kind of a survival story. The first book was so fun. I loved the tiny little teeny bit of fantasy we got with the historical setting. I think it just worked really well, and Rae Carson's writing is some of my favorites. She has another YA trilogy that I absolutely adore, so when I saw these, I had to pick them up because I will be continuing on with the series. Then I picked up 1,000 Beginnings and Endings, edited by Ellen O and Elsie Chapman. This is 16 retellings of Asian myths and legends. I had seen this around, there was some buzz around its release, but I hadn't seen too many people pick it up, but it does pique my interest. Some of the authors on here are Renee Ahdieh, Roshni Chokshi, Julie Kagawa, Cindy Pon, Alyssa Wong, Ellen O. It just seems like an excellent short story collection with a mix of genres and just some different things that I think will be very inspiring. The next book that I have here to show you is Fireborn by Rosario Munda. This is a young adult fantasy that takes place in a world where dragon riders kind of rule, and I believe our 2 main characters are sort of rising in ranks of a new regime of government when the old regime comes back and rebels. So they're kind of on the brink of war. There's 2 main characters, Annie and Lee, who are best friends, and they find themselves on opposite sides of this rising conflict. So they have to kind of choose between friendship, loyalty, etc. I've heard wonderful things about this book from a lot of different people, so I definitely want to give it a go. Then I ended up picking up a copy of The Deep by River Solomon with David Diggs, William Hudson, and Jonathan Snipe. Can we just take a moment to talk about this cover? I saw this cover, I had never seen it before, and hot damn, I am obsessed with this cover. Yitu holds the memories for her people, descendants of pregnant African slave women thrown overboard by slave owners, live idyllic lives in the deep. Their past, too painful to be remembered regularly, is forgotten by everyone save one. The memories, harrowing and wonderful, traumatic and terrible, are destroying Yitu, and so she flees to the surface, escaping her expectations and responsibilities, and discovers a world they left behind long ago. I have heard some really good things about this, that it's very poignant and moving and just extremely well written, so I do want to pick this up very soon. Okay, I have another one you've already seen. This came out in January, and I actually did a wrap-up review, which I will link up below. And I actually did a wrap-up review for this book, so I'll link it down below, and that is Concrete Rose by Angie Thomas. This is the prequel to The Hate U Give, following the main character from The Hate U Give, Star Carter's father, back when he was a teenager and ends up becoming a father at the age of 17. I really enjoyed this book. If you like Angie Thomas's other works, I think you will also enjoy this one. As soon as this book came out, I wanted to pick it up, and that's pretty much what I did. I actually listened to it on audio, and it was wonderful. But yes, Concrete Rose, Angie Thomas, loved it. Go watch my review. I have The Project by Courtney Summers, which just came out last week and is one of my most anticipated releases for the entire year. This follows a girl whose parents have died, and she ends up living with her aunt because her older sister has joined this kind of cult called the Unity Project. No one really thinks it's a cult because they're doing a lot of good things for the community. However, there's some underlying sinister tones there, and the main character Lo actually comes across a man who believes the same thing as her, and I believe they go into an investigation within the Unity Project. I am going to get to this as soon as possible. This is by the same author that wrote Sadie, which is one of my all-time favorite YA mysteries of all time. It is impeccable, so I have really high hopes for this one, and I know Courtney is not gonna let me down. All right, next Next up, I have another 2021 release. I have not read this one yet though, and that is Winterkeep by Kristen Cashore. This is an expansion on the Graceling realm, a trilogy that I love so much. I read it in high school and it has stuck with me to this day. I believe this is kind of an expansion on the world. So our queen character from the last book is exploring out to the west and comes across a kingdom, is all I really know about this. I do think I want to reread this series before I jump into this one. As much as I adore the original series, I'm pretty far removed from it. I haven't done a reread in years, so I do want to jump back into this world before I get to this. I know a couple people that have done that and they said they were really happy they reread the books, so that's the plan right now. I don't know how soon I will get to this. Hopefully very soon, because I've heard good things about it. I have another expansion on another beloved YA series and an author you've already seen before, and that is The Empire of Dreams by Ray Carson. This is a spin-off book to the Girl of Fire and Thorns trilogy, and it follows one of the characters in the first trilogy that's younger. She's all grown up now, and that's kind of all I know about this book. I kind of want to dive into this one blind. I did read the Girl of Fire and Thorns trilogy, I think in 2019 mostly, so it is pretty fresh on my mind. I don't think I will be doing a reread before I jump into this, but maybe, who knows, we'll see. But yes, I'm so excited to be back in this world with these characters. If you guys like YA fantasy and you have not picked up Girl of Fire and Thorns trilogy yet, it's an older YA series, but I honestly think it holds up, similar to Graceling, so I would urge you to give it a go. Next up, I have another YA, and that is
Hello. So I realized while I was editing this that I very much mispronounced the title of this book. This book is titled Elatsoe by Darcy Little Badger, and I apologize for not looking up how to pronounce it beforehand. I will leave a link to a video of the author talking about this book down below for you to check out, because she definitely does a better job describing it than I do.
Elatsoe by Darcy Little Badger. This follows Elatsoe, who is a girl who has the power to raise the ghosts of animals. And at the beginning of this book, her favorite beloved cousin is murdered, and it doesn't seem like there's going to be an investigation. It says in a town that doesn't want any prying eyes, but of course Elatsoe is going to pry and try and figure out what happened to her cousin. Another book I've heard nothing but wonderful things about, so again, like all of these, I can't wait to read it. I need to stop sleeping so I can read more. So I've been wanting to read more poetry this year, and I would definitely take any recommendations, but I saw this and I thought it was really interesting. I don't know much about it, like I haven't seen it anywhere on BookTube. I haven't even looked it up on Goodreads, but it was kind of an impulse buy, and that is When the Light of the World Was Subdued, Our Songs Came Through, a Norton anthology of Native Nations poetry. The work of more than 160 poets representing nearly 100 indigenous nations into the first historically comprehensive Native poetry anthology. This landmark anthology celebrates the indigenous people of North America, the first poets of this country whose literary traditions stretch back centuries. So this seems really cool and something that I will definitely want to pick up. I don't know if I'm going to pick it up and read it straight through, or if it's one of those books that you kind of pick up here and there and read bits and pieces of it. It seems like it has a good mix of style of poetry and just different themes and things like that of poetry. I am very curious to pick this one up. This next book was a gift from one of my friends, Leia, and that is The Office of Historical Corrections by Danielle Evans. This is comprised of a novella as well as some short stories where Evans talks about race and the United States history. So it says, with this novella and stories, Evans considers how and why some people choose to confront history and others outrun it. I haven't read anything by this author before, but I am definitely intrigued, and I'm always interested in novellas and short story collections, so I do want to see kind of what the insights are here. I picked up a copy of One by One by Ruth Ware. This is Ruth Ware's most recent mystery novel. I have definitely gotten into Ruth Ware in the past couple of years. I've read 3 of her established works, and this one just seems so great. I was a little on the fence about the premise, but the reviews that I have seen from people that I trust seems like it's gonna be a wonderful, mysterious thriller. This follows a group of characters that get snowed in this fancy ski lodge in the Alps. However, this is not a group of strangers, it's a group of co-workers that are on a, what are those called? Something retreat, corporate retreats, there it is. So I believe this is actually inspired by And Then There Were None by Agatha Christie, which I mentioned earlier, because there's this group of people that are isolated and one by one they start to go missing, and it's kind of a whodunit mystery. So I do think I want to read And Then There Were None before I pick this one up, but this one seems so enticing, especially in the winter with like a French Alps setting. I don't know, we'll see how it goes. And the last book that I have to show you here today is The Year of the Witching by Alexis Henderson. This is a kind of gothic horror novel that follows our main character who is living in kind of a Puritan society. She's trying her best to follow the church and go along with those teachings. However, there is a mysterious dark wood that she finds herself in, and there are 4 witch spirits that give the gift of the main character's mother's journal bestowed upon her. So as she is learning more about her mother and the witches, she's also learning that the church has its own kind of sinister side and is starting to unravel. This has been on my radar since it came out. However, what actually made me pull the trigger on buying it was this was on so many people's end of year lists on the favorite book of the year, one of the best books they've read that year. So I figured I would pick it up. I'm not usually big horror reader. However, this seems like it toes the line between fantasy, mystery, horror that I think I will really enjoy it. So those are all of the books that I acquired this winter. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Give it a like if you want to, subscribe if you want to. You don't have to. I am just happy you're here, and I will see you next time. Bye.